It's nice to see a lot of people show up today. We're very excited to have Dean Meyer with us today. He's an expert in organizational design and a beacon for entrepreneurs. Dean revolutionizes how organizations can be ecosystems of internal entrepreneurs, focusing on innovation, empowerment, and scalability. This session will delve into the science of organization design and how to structure your company to ensure clear accountabilities, empowerment, great teamwork, cost control, innovation, and infinite scalability. With 8 influential books and a unique approach to organizational structure, Dean's guidance is poised to offer invaluable insights. We're all set to learn and apply these groundbreaking concepts. Welcome, Dean, and thank you for sharing your visionary expertise with us today.
Emilio, it's an honor to be with you. Thank you. I want to thank you all for two things. I want to thank you for spending this hour with me today, and I want to thank you for listening to me in English. I appreciate that. I'm completely incapable of learning other languages. I admire you for being multilingual. I want to begin today by sharing an experience I had on one of my very first visits to Guatemala, visiting Sergio Pais, who is CEO of PDC. And he was also an adjunct professor at the university, and he pulled together a group of Guatemalan entrepreneurs, very successful people. And I asked them this question. Now, of course, these are all people who are educated at top universities around the world. They could have been top executives in any multinational company, really capable people. I asked them, why would you choose to work these ridiculously long hours and put your family's money at risk to be in business for yourself? And we took notes. We took notes on what they said, and their comments fell into two broad categories. So here are some quotes as best I could capture them. You see a common thread, a theme here? These people wanted to be in control of their lives, in control of their destiny. Now, they knew they were fully accountable for the results, accountable for their organization. They wanted the authorities to go with those accountabilities. What they were looking for was empowerment. Empowerment means authorities and accountabilities match. And here's the other list of quotes. What do you think the pattern is here? What do you see them saying? They were looking for purpose, some meaning. By purpose, I mean using your unique talents to do something hard, something you'll be proud of. And here's the key, something that has value to others. Empowerment means authorities and accountabilities match. It doesn't mean a blank check. It means you have just enough authorities to achieve your accountabilities. This is so fundamental. I call it the golden rule of organizational design, and it applies at every level of the firm. If you ever separate authorities from accountabilities, on one hand, the guy with authorities becomes a tyrant, with unconstrained, no checks and balances, and meanwhile, the guy with accountabilities and not sufficient authorities is a helpless victim, a scapegoat when things go wrong. This is really fundamental. And purpose, some meaning to your work, by delivering products and services that benefit your customers. So I ask you this, why can't we cultivate this kind of entrepreneurship within a company, at every level of a company? Why can't we build an organization filled with entrepreneurs at every level? Now, I'll tell you what's not going to get you there. The typical human resources roles in processes or responsibilities for tasks. And certainly we can't get there by designing an organization around the unique personalities and capabilities of the top few. I'd like to propose to you instead that we design an organization where every box on the organization chart, every job, is defined not by roles or responsibilities, but defined by what business they're in, what internal business within a business that box represents. Some of those businesses may have customers outside the firm. Most of them will find their customers inside the company. Many of them will find that they sell their products and services both externally and internally. They're all businesses. By the way, when I say sell, I do not mean that money changes hands. I'm not talking about transfer pricing and cross-charging. I mean, conceptually, they understand their jobs as running a business. That means not just delivering projects and services today, certainly a lot more than just managing the resources. It means running a business now and into the future, accountable for delivering today's products and services, certainly, but also for innovation and looking after the future of your business, for cultivating relationships with your customers, internal and external, for being creative about evolving your product line, whether it's internal or external, through entrepreneurship at every level. So as you think about that, let me share with you next a framework of all of the lines of business that exist inside of companies. Of course, this framework has to be interpreted in light of your unique business. It has to be applied, and we've got to figure out what the specifics are. But at a high level, here they are. And I'm going to work right to left. And remember, when I say sell, I'm not talking about money changing hands. Service providers sell continual flow of similar things, like water from the faucet, like electricity from the outlet. Service providers keep things running smoothly, viably, efficiently, safely. I tell you, these guys hate innovation. But we pay them to hate innovation. Their job is to keep things stable, to keep things running. Oh, sure, they'll innovate, but only when it's safe. That's their job, to keep things running. Now, there are many different types of service providers within that stack. Some are based on assets they own, like manufacturing and logistics. Some are based on people, like customer service and field technicians. But in all cases, they keep things running. Engineers, on the other hand, they love innovation. They're constantly out there at the bleeding edge, inventing new things. Engineers maintain expertise in a particular domain, a particular discipline of technology, science. And they use that expertise to design, build, repair, and support assets, solutions, I'll call them. In IT, that could be an application. In a company, that could be a product design. And again, when we drill down, there are different kinds of engineers. For example, we have civil engineers that build bridges, and we have architects that build buildings. I'll call them both applications engineers. One application of engineering is a bridge, another application is a building, but both of them fall on, and I'll say subcontract in my entrepreneurial speech, they subcontract to another set of engineers, like stress engineers and electrical engineers and traffic engineers. We have applications engineers and then component or base engineers, including manufacturing engineering. But they're all engineers. They all love inventing new things. You see the difference. If we just said infrastructure or operations and we mixed up manufacturing engineering and manufacturing in there, what are we doing? We're putting someone in a conflict of interest situation. Hey, Amelia, I want you to keep things running, keep things stable, keep things efficient. Oh, and by the way, invent the next generation of product. How's that feel? Not too good, right? It's a conflict of interest. And meanwhile, do engineers really want to report to a boss who spent his whole life studying service management and operations? No, they want to report to someone who understands engineering. So it's important to understand the difference between those two fundamental lines of business. Now you see how we could analyze your business and your organization chart and identify who in there is accountable for keeping things running, service providers, and who in there is accountable for inventing new things, the engineers. And you may find some boxes on your organization chart accountable for both. Continuing on, coordinators bring us together to make shared decisions. Consider this: who is accountable for planning? If you set up a planning group that decides your plan, you've just disempowered every entrepreneur in your business. How can you hold them accountable for their success if the plan is imposed on them? Who is accountable for planning? The right answer is everybody. Whether I'm talking about strategic planning or operational planning, every entrepreneur has to decide their own plan in order to be held accountable for their futures and the success of their internal businesses. But of course, planning requires expertise. Someone's got to teach them how, and all of their plans have to come together and be integrated into the enterprise plan. So planning by its nature is a process that requires coordination and consensus. So the job of a planning group is not to decide the plan, but to bring all of the leadership team together, to walk them through a common process with some common assumptions, teach them how to plan, and then to make sure all their plans are integrated and add up to the corporate plan. The same thing is true of policy and business continuity, that is disaster recovery, regulatory compliance. There are many things where everybody is accountable, but we have to come to consensus for it to work. Coordinators are in the business of bringing us to consensus on shared decisions. I don't mean project level. I don't mean project team like project management office. These are enterprise level decisions that go across projects and across services. So there are many examples of coordinators that we can come up with. Next on the list, sales and marketing. Their expertise is knowing our external customers. I call them clients to distinguish them from internal customers. They know and love our clients. Their value proposition is great relationships with clients outside the business and alignment with our clients' needs. They understand those clients and their strategies and their personalities and their politics, and they link those clients to the rest of our product line. Now, to be truly client strategy driven, to be truly business driven, they've got to sell the whole store. They have to have access to all of our products and services so that they can truly listen to clients and their operational needs and their strategies and prescribe just the right mix of products and services. So I'm not talking about the proverbial used car salesman that's trained to get you to buy something you may or may not want. I'm talking about real counselor selling, partnership selling. That's the expertise of sales. And marketing is still client facing, but it speaks one to many or many to one. One to many is marketing communication, from branding strategy on down to all the channels. And market research is inbound communication, answering questions about what those clients think. Last on the list is audit. Audit is in the business of judging others and maybe even disempowering them, vetoing them. Audit catches people when they do something wrong. Think of the difference between your accountant and the Federal Department of Revenues. Your accountant may go over your books and make judgments, but they tell you about it so that you have a chance to do something about it. That's not an audit. That's a service. Audit, like the federal government, Department of Revenue, they make those same judgments, but they're acting on behalf of your government, your legislature. They're not on your team. That's what I mean by audit. So you may have a need for audit, but let me tell you this. If you ever mix audit with any of these other lines of business, you've created a terrible conflict of interest. The auditors themselves will tell you they have to be arm's length. You can't both be auditing and be one voice in the room. Auditors have to be arm's length. So you never want to mix audit with any of these other lines of business. Or said another way, these other lines of business should never be put in a position to judge their customers. So those are the basic lines of business. Now, again, we could look at your organization chart and your business and your industry, and we could identify for each box on your organization chart which business or businesses they're in. And I have much more detailed models for various industries and functional areas. We could map what's where. We could also design an organization chart this way. That's why I'm calling them the building blocks of structure. Imagine that we list all the service providers that you need somewhere in your company now and into the future. And we list all the engineers that you're going to need now and into the future, and so on. Those are the building blocks. And then we start moving them around until we see clustering them, until we see an organization chart. An organization chart where every box is defined by what business it's in, not bureaucratic roles, responsibilities, tasks, competencies. Now, how do all these pieces, all these different lines of business work together to accomplish both the operational necessities and the strategic initiatives of the? Think about building a house. You hire a general contractor to build that house for you. And the first thing the general contractor does is arrange for electrician and plumber and roofer and et cetera, right? Even before they give you a quote, they have to put together the project team. Your house may require some advanced electronics because you want an automated house. Somebody else's house does not, but has some fancy plumbing and so on. So each project is unique, and that general contractor has to put together just the right team. And everybody on that team has to be clear about their individual accountabilities. And all of their individual accountabilities have to add up to a successful project. Michael Porter called this a value chain. The general contractor I'll refer to as a prime contractor, and the electrician and plumber I'll refer to as subcontractors on a project team or a service delivery team. So how might this work? Let's say you want to launch a new product. Who wants to launch a new product? Who's wholly accountable for that product launch? Let me call that the product manager, or you might call it a brand manager. That product manager or brand manager buys market research from the marketing department to help understand the market and understand what people want, the requirements for the product. That product manager may then take those results to engineering and buy a product design. Those engineers, in turn, may subcontract for project facilitation from a project management office. They may subcontract for other engineers whose help they need to do the design. They may get advice from manufacturing engineering to ensure design for manufacturability. Okay, now the product manager owns a design bought from the applications engineers. Next, once we get approval and the go-ahead and the funding, product manager buys procurement services from supplier management. That would be off in the business office. Product manager buys manufacturing services from manufacturing. That's a service provider. Manufacturing, in turn, may buy engineering to redesign or reconfigure its plant for this new product. Product manager buys warehousing, inventory management from logistics, buys customer support from customer service, and customer service, in turn, may buy subcontract for second level support from engineers who have a deep understanding of the product design. Product manager may continually over time buy pricing analysis from market research. They may buy advertising, promotions, etc., the whole brand strategy from marketing. And product manager buys sales from our sales department, sales as a service. Product manager owns the P&L for the product and subcontracts for whatever level of sales their budget will afford to achieve their revenue targets. Sales as a service. Well, we don't need to go too deeply into the details, but do you see how teams can form very quickly and dynamically? One person accountable for the whole, subcontracts across the entire enterprise for any help that's needed. We have just the right people on the team. Everybody is absolutely clear about their accountabilities. And all those accountabilities add up to what that prime contractor needs to get the job done. I call this a walkthrough. It happens at the beginning of every project or the introduction of every new service. Put together the team and be clear on who's accountable for what. In that way, you get great teamwork across the entire enterprise. And it's dynamic. Each project could be a little different. It's not a fixed engineered business process, which is only fine for really stable things like manufacturing. It's a dynamic process that puts together the right people on teams with clear accountabilities based on the needs of each unique project. So what does this accomplish? Absolutely clear accountabilities. Whether you're the prime on this project and the subcontractor on another project, you know exactly what's on your list. Empowerment. You have the authority just to go with those accountabilities. That prime contractor goes to the subcontractor and buys results, not just people to work on the team. They buy specific results. And that internal business within a business, the subcontractor, is empowered to figure out how to deliver those results. Authorities and accountabilities match. You have great teamwork across the enterprise, as I said, dynamic teamwork. Everyone across the enterprise is aligned, prime and all the subs. Meanwhile, we're building a culture of customer focus, a culture of entrepreneurship at every level. And may I suggest that we're also grooming our next generation of leaders in the process. And we'll see innovation everywhere, not just one little innovation group that is doing everybody's future thinking for them, creating a bottleneck for innovation. But everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody has an opportunity to be innovative. Now let's take this a step further. Imagine this. Imagine that everything in the company is a shared service. There are no business units that are self-contained. Everything is a shared service. Somewhere in this company, we have brand managers or product managers. They are accountable for the P&L on their brands, their products. And as I said, that's kind of the hub of the wheel, center of the web, putting all the pieces together. Those brand managers, as I said, buy sales as a service, buy operations as a service, buy engineering as a service, support services, business services, IT, HR. Imagine that everything is a shared service. Let's say we're a multinational company. We're in multiple countries. We have multiple products. We serve local accounts, but we also serve some global accounts. And we need excellence in all of the functions. Multi-dimensional cube. You form business units by country? No. Sales is in the country, selling the whole store, selling the entire product. You may also need field technicians in a country. We only divide people by country where we have a need for country focus, for local focus. How about the multi-product, the product dimension of the cube? We have the brand managers, each accountable for their part of our product line. Sales, in addition to the geographic sales force, has key accounts, account representatives. So our global accounts are addressed with one person, their account rep, who has a global view of their business. And of course, all the functions are shared services, which means we've consolidated them and we have real depth, real specialization in each function. That's what brings excellence, reliable delivery, and innovation. They can keep up with the literature better, so you'll see more innovation. And the people in that profession have career paths rather than scattering them about a bunch of little groups of generalists reporting to people who don't understand them. All those functions are consolidated. So at this point, what do we have? We've now maximized specialization, and specialization leads to performance. Specialists always outperform generalists. Well, there is a condition to that, a warning there. You can't specialize if you can't team. If you're not really good at teamwork, then a highly specialized organization chart will revert back into independent silos or business units or independent groups that try to do it all themselves. But we've already talked about teamwork, doing the walkthroughs, have great teamwork. So now we can afford to specialize to a very high degree. That's how you maximize performance. I'll give you an example. Let's say we have engineers dedicated to one and only one product line. Should they report to the brand manager? Well, what does the brand manager really know about managing engineers? They have a different specialty, a different profession. So even if it's totally dedicated to a product line, that engineering group would be better managed by someone who understands them, that is a chief engineer, on the condition that they recognize the brand manager as their customer. They better be customer focused and satisfying their customer. Meanwhile, the brand manager has just as much control being a customer to that group as they would being the boss of that group. There's no loss of control on the brand manager side, and there are much better career paths, better performance on the engineering side. Just an example of how specialization can work. By consolidation, we've gained cost efficiencies. That comes through economies of scale, through better performance specialists, and comes through consolidating our buying power with vendors, comes through sharing common components and common processes. In my experience, decentralizing a function among the business units can increase costs by as much as 50% for a lower quality of service. By consolidating all those shared services, you'll save money. We're also going to see enterprise synergies. That is, when all of the different brand managers share the same engineering function, they're going to be common components. We've designed that for this brand. Can't we use it in that other brand? That's going to improve brand identity in the market. It's going to save money. It's going to improve maintainability of your products. It would be one example of synergies across product lines. And especially if you're a young and growing firm, you'll appreciate that this design is infinitely scalable. You want to launch a new product line, you appoint a new brand manager, and the whole machine gets behind that new brand. A new technology comes along. Oh, what are we doing about artificial intelligence? We just add a new engineering group, and the entire operating model continues as it was. We want to establish a new plant in a different country. We know whose job that is. It's over in the service provider area under operations. They know how to set up plants. They know how to manage those plants. And that plant can serve customers in that country or anywhere in the world. It's a shared service. This design is infinitely scalable. Another benefit that is along those lines is acquisitions integration. Imagine this: when you buy a company, you get a number of things. You get let's say, a new brand, and you get all the support services that company had to develop to support that brand. So what do? You take their brand, set up a new brand manager. You take the rest of that acquisition and map it into all your existing groups. And at that point, you have full two-way synergies. Why is that? Because that brand manager now has access to the entire machine, all of the talents of your mothership organization. Meanwhile, the whole enterprise has access to the talent coming in and now populating those shared services groups. Two-way synergy, a matter of months, not years. Let me wrap it up with a few thoughts. What I'm talking about here is not just a new organization chart. It's truly a transformation, a change in fundamental ways, culture and the way we work. We've got to change the way people behave. We've got to change the way people think and move people from bureaucrat to entrepreneur, and do to sell. It's a fundamental mind twist, changing the way people think. That's what I mean by transformation. I don't mean a digital business strategy. That's just another strategy. And we'll have an AI strategy and so on and so on. I mean a fundamental change in the look and feel and character of the company. Now that takes work, and that takes time. It's an investment. It's not just drawing some boxes, organization chart. It's much deeper than that. Back to my friend Sergio Pais, PDC in Guatemala. He has implemented that full everything's the shared service model. Sergio did this. He's proven it. But he's an example of a very exceptional leader. He's not only really great at business strategy, he's great at organizational strategy. And perhaps most importantly, he has the stamina and the vision to invest in the legacy of an organization that runs brilliantly, even if he moves on. So let me say that if any of you are in a position to invest in building that legacy of a really great organization, then you're the kind of leader I've dedicated my entire life work to. You're the kind of leader I want to help